What's up, guys? Welcome to the Do It Movement podcast. This is your host, Martine Jackson, and I've built my 6-figure, soon to be 7-figure, massive real estate business through commercial investing, rental investing, and wholesaling in Virginia. After college, I worked a series of jobs that I absolutely hated and decided to take life into my own hands. What my journey has shown me is one very important thing. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Each week, I bring you a powerful guest or tip to unravel the real estate game, and my challenge to you is that you take some of that knowledge and do something with it. The Do It Movement is here to help you create the life you desire through real estate. Now let's get to it. Hello, today Do It Movement listeners. This is your host, Martine Jackson. Today we have the Polites all the way from North Carolina. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Doing great. How are you?
We're doing well. What's going on?
Good. I'm glad to have you guys on here. You guys are famous in the real estate space. So it's awesome to have you guys on and to share your knowledge. But for the people that don't know you and don't know your story, why did you guys get started in real estate? How did you get started in this journey?
So, wow, real estate. So I got started in real estate before we met, age 25. After I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read that in my early 20s, changed how I looked at money. And I decided to buy my first house, and I wanted to be a real estate investor. I house hacked my first house, a triplex in Boston, Massachusetts. I had a good corporate job, so I was able to get 100% financing. This was in 2007, before the housing market crashed. I bought a triplex for $400,000. I lived in the basement unit. I rented out the first and second floors. That paid for my mortgage. And since then, I've been hooked on real estate. I spent the next 10 years in analysis paralysis mode, where I read a lot of books and took a lot of seminars and did nothing. And it wasn't until I met my wife. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a visionary. So she was like, hey, around 2017, I kept talking about wholesaling and getting into investing. She was like, dude, you've been talking about this for years. We need to just do it. We need to start taking action. So then action. And the last 2.5 years have been a whirlwind. We built a massively successful real estate company, and we feel like we're just getting started.
Right. So you gave him the push he needed.
Absolutely. It sure was. And that's what most women do. It's typically our role that's going to push the boyfriends, the fiancés, the husbands into actually moving into their greatness and not just talking about it. So I was just like, listen, I already know he's great, but I know I was going to be that driving force between him talking about this stuff and actually doing it. And I'm a doer. I'm like, listen.
Talk is cheap.
That's right.
Do it movement. There you go.
Right.
You said, all right, it's time to stop talking about it. Time to be about it. Okay.
Airbnb. That was our first dive into real estate, and we made a killing in Airbnb. And this was back in
2012.
Yep, 2012, before it was really popping and before everybody had the, Airbnb courses and everything. I was literally starting when no one knew about it, and we made a killing in that. And then transitioned from that into owning some franchises, getting more into learning the corporate structure of enterprises and things of that nature, and then rolled over into real estate full time.
Right. I don't know if you want to share your apartment Airbnb story, but it was very inspiring when I heard it. So if you want to talk, because people think, oh, well, I don't even have any properties. I can't make any money in real estate. And you made it happen with stuff you already had.
Right. So
I just feel like that deserves to be shared.
So, and people plus also think, oh, it's so glamorous and think that I'm just going to do this. So with us, like I said, we started very, very early. So there was nothing out that was educating people on it. My husband came to me and was like, hey, listen, I think I know a way that we can make some extra money. And I was like, okay, cool. What's that? And he was like, by renting your apartment out. And at the time, he had his place, I had my place. And we were dating at the time, maybe 2 months in.
She was always at my house. Her apartment was sitting there vacant.
Literally sitting there vacant. Right. Except I had just let my brother stay there. Well, I didn't let him stay. He kind of just moved on.
It's vacant anyway.
Can I stay there? And that week turned into months and months. So I was like, oh, yeah, well, tell me about it. And he said, oh, it's about this. I found this site. I learned, our coworker told him about Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, really? So he told me a little bit more about it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he was like, really? I said, let's do it. He was like, oh, but your brother's in there now. And I said, he was.
So I was coming up with a
He was in there.
Yeah.
And she was like, he was in there.
I said, he was in there. I called him right then and said, hey, listen, you're going to have to be going in 2 weeks. I had to park it out. And he was like, oh, where am I going to go? I said, listen, that ain't my problem. You got 2 weeks.
You were generous. You gave 2 whole weeks.
Right,
listen.
right.
And I said, it's already rented. And he was like,
right.
oh, man. Next thing I know, we ended up doing everything wrong in the beginning. So we rented our furniture from, what's those places called?
Rent-A-Center.
Rent-A-Center. And I was like, ain't nobody sleeping on my bed. So we rented all this top furniture, I'd had this cable turned off because I said, I'm not paying for cable for you to live here.
Right.
So we turned the cable on. We just started doing stuff that we figured we would like.
Right.
Airbnb. We started doing all that stuff. And we ended up making about a little over 30,000 in 3 months, 3-4 months, something like that. And like I said, it was my apartment.
Right.
So literally.
So her rent was like $700.
$777.
Yeah, $777 a month, and we were bringing in like $4 grand a month. And this is 2012. Airbnb was still brand new.
Yep.
So we had guests from all over the world coming to stay there, but it wasn't all glamorous, right? Because at one point her neighbors started complaining, and it ended up getting back to the building management, where after doing it for about 4 or 5 months, making a ton of money, building manager caught wind that we were subleasing it.
Yep.
And they actually evicted her.
Oh man. Oh man.
We told the good and the bad. It was great while it lasted.
We had already secured the bag, so we
you got the bag, you had to go. I hear you. Oh, that's funny. So
on time too, because we were moving to North Carolina that month.
Right. So I have a friend that she travels a lot and she does Airbnb, and your story kind of reminded me of her a little bit, because since she travels so much, she's like, my apartment's always vacant. I'm just going to start Airbnb in that apartment, right? So anyway, like you guys, the management office called her. So she just started doing other ones, but then she started getting into the corporate leases. And now she has a corporate lease with that management company. So she just turned it around.
Exactly.
But yeah, one time she had gotten to a point where someone was booked, and she had just gotten back or something. She's like, hey, can I sleep on your couch? Like, because her place is booked. And we're like, dang, all about the money, huh?
Yep.
But you guys are like the experts at driving for dollars. You have a driving for dollars course to teach other people the things that you've learned. So let's just talk about that a little bit. Like, I guess let's talk about your experience in driving for dollars first, and then you could probably give people some tips on like what should they be looking for.
Yeah.
Or what is it for maybe the newest person if they don't know what driving for dollars is.
Right.
So what is driving for dollars? It's basically driving around your neighborhood or your city, looking for vacant, abandoned, distressed properties, and then sending them marketing such as a letter or a postcard to see if they're looking to sell it. That's driving for dollars. We've built, a 7-figure business off of a foundation of driving for dollars, and I mean we love it. Why? Because it's really the best list.
Absolutely.
A lot of people getting started in real estate,
Right.
What list do I target? Who do I go after? The best way to start learning your neighborhood, learning your farm area, we call it, is to go out and just look for vacant properties, look for rundown properties in your community, and put those, start sending those people letters. So that's what we taught people how to do, and we've done ourselves. Her mother was one of our first, what we call deal finders. Other people call them bird dogs. So her mother was the first person we recruited when we first got started. She's retired. had a long career in banking. She was kind of bored. So we were like, hey, you mind driving around and identifying vacant properties for us? If you find it and we actually wholesale or flip the property, we'll give you a percentage of what we make. And her mother's made a good amount, good so secondary income.
Almost all our first deals that we were closing was all her deals from Driving for Dollars.
Yeah, she's found hundreds of properties.
She wasn't playing any games. She went out there running.
Where I get that hustle from.
And the good thing about it is we actually have an app that makes it really easy, right? Because when I started, I was driving for dollars, and I'm like, you get a piece of paper, and you're trying to like write down numbers and names and addresses, and you never quite remember to follow up with them when you get back home. So when my wife told me about this app called Deal Machine, at first I actually kind of didn't want to do it.
No, he said no.
I said no.
It's going to be something else we're going to be paying for, we're not going to be using. And I said, okay, we're going to do it. Great. I just downloaded it and started using it. And he didn't even want any parts of Driving for Dollars. Like, I would be like, slow down. And he's like, oh my God.
So we're driving around town. She'd be like, stop. I need to do something. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I need to take a picture of this house. Send them a postcard. I'm like, what are you doing?
And then I tell him, like, here, snap this picture. And he's like, what? No, you got to do it this way. No, turn it that way. Quickly. Like, come on, we can't sit in it. And he always tried to take the perfect picture. Like, okay, and the lighting. I was like, oh my God. If you don't take this picture so I can drive off or somebody come out here with their gun, we are in no
professional photography over there.
Yeah. So
you bring up Deal Machine. I just want to point this out real quick because like having an app to do this is a game changer. I just remember I started in real estate in 2014 and I started with Driving for Dollars. And I was just like, I had a mentor and he was like, oh yeah, just drive for houses, get this amount of houses or whatever. But there were no apps in 2014 for this. So I'm writing down all the numbers. I got to go to the tax assessor and I have to look up all the information. And like everything was so manual. I was like, man, this sucks. Like there got to be a better way than this. So by having that app, you're able to have all of that manual stuff, that labor stuff done for you. And with this app, they even mail it for you, don't they?
Yeah.
Correct.
What happens is you pull up, you identify a house. It's going to pull the data from the county record. So how much did the owner pay for it? Do they live there? Are they absentee? Do they live out of state? Do they have a mortgage? So it's going to pull in all this data. You snap a picture of the house, and it's actually going to send them a little postcard with a picture of the house on it. So this is really cool because a lot of sellers call us back, and just because it's a picture of the house, they're like, were you in front of my house? Like, yeah, do you want to sell it? And they're like, okay, yeah. How much are you going to give me for the house? And you start a conversation based off that. So it's a really powerful app. We've driven for dollars and found hundreds of properties, but we have also built a team of bird dogs or deal finders, as I mentioned earlier, that are around the country that have submitted thousands of properties. And we've closed a ton of deals, buy and hold deals, fix and flip, hold all types of properties. And a lot of times they're like, you guys are one of the few people that have contacted me. And we're the only investor bidding on that property. Made huge spreads from anywhere from 2,000 on the low end to 105,000 on the high end of these houses.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing that I always remember about you guys is that every deal you get, you want to take down. That's how y'all say it. We're going to take down this deal.
Strategy is to figure out how we take it down first.
We should take it down. We mean buy it and hold it as a rental and just that passive income.
Yeah.
Passive income, cash flow. So.
And we tell people wholesaling is a job. We're not looking at how I just left a job. So
we are not wholesalers. We're investors.
That's it. Our way. The reason why we want to take everything down is because we're trying to build, like he said, we're trying to build that passive income and build it up to sustain us, our lifestyle, our kids from generations to generations. So that's always our first mind thought is, hey, how can I take this down? If we say, okay, listen, this one isn't about good, this don't fit our criteria, our buying criteria, okay, let's wholesale this one, or let's subject to it, or whatever our next exit strategy is. But buy and hold is first and foremost to us. And you'll get people who are like, oh, hey, listen, I wholesaled. They'll come up to us and like, yeah, man, I wholesaled, 40 properties. last year. And I'm like, man, that's great. How many did you buy and hold? And they're like, well, I ain't got there yet.
You just did 40 deals. What you mean?
All them deals, did you get $1 back?
And again, wholesaling is great. It's like an ATM machine. We love wholesaling. But like you said, it's a job. When you wholesale 40 deals, next year, you don't have any income coming in unless you go out and hustle and do it again. Right? So we encourage ourselves, we do it ourselves and encourage our students to start building passive income, own something, right? Get the tax benefits, get that appreciation, get that cash flow that comes from ownership. Take some of that wholesale check that you get and put it into some buy and hold properties.
And stop thinking that you need a ton of money to buy and hold these properties. We have properties that we've spent less than $10,000 on.
Right.
Properties where we spend zero and we use private money.
You don't, I mean, if you make the right deal or the right relationship, you don't really need money to hold them. And I don't think people realize that.
Nope. Everyone says, oh, I got to get my finances and my credit right first.
Right.
And we're constantly telling them, like, no, you just have to be good at what you do.
Yeah. So for example, we just got a deal on the contract in North Carolina. The ARV is $80,000. It's a pre-foreclosure. We're buying it for $20,000. It's going to need $20,000 in repairs. So we're getting a private lender. It's going to lend us $40,000, $20,000 to buy, $20,000 to fix up. We're going to pay them a percentage. And then after 6 months, pay them off after we cash out refi. So if we have an $80,000 ARV, we borrow 70% of that. That's about $54,000. We pay our lender $44,000, pay them off. Now we have another $13,000 in our pocket, and we've just got to buy and hold property for no money out of pocket.
Right. So for Driving for Dollars, you said you guys have deal finders. Let's touch on that. How would someone, because I think a lot of people, they think of this in terms of, let me do it myself. I have to do all the work, blah, blah, blah. But you guys have people out there looking for you, which, increases your chances of getting more deals because you have so many people looking and you pay them per deal or however you got that structured. But how would you suggest for someone to approach somebody that if they're interested in getting more people looking for houses for them? Like, what are some tactics they can use to do that?
I would say start with the people that you know first. Start with family, close friends. Start with them and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to build my real estate business, and I could really love your help, and you can make some extra money on the side. All you're doing is driving around taking pictures of abandoned or properties that may be in, vacant or
tall grass.
No, or just, distressed properties. They don't have to be vacant. Majority of properties are not vacant. So I tell people just look for distressed or vacant properties, even fire. But you build around your family and friends first. Build your systems around them. They're going to be a lot more forgiving of changes than perfect strangers who's thinking that you've got it all together, everything figured out. And people always like to think they're coming into a corporate structure, no matter what, if they approach you like, hey, listen, I'd love to join your team. So they're not expecting for you to be like, okay, well, you know what, we're going to switch up next week and I need you guys to be looking for this. And you're like, wait, what? Okay, well, you know what, never mind, scratch that. I did everything around my mother first. Once I knew exactly what we were looking for, what we wanted, how I was going to approach it, that's when I started branching out and he started then at that point mentioning on all of our social media videos and posts, hey, if you're looking to make extra cash, contact us. That's how we literally built up a team of over 100 deal finders. It's just by him going on social media saying, hey, listen, if you're looking to make this extra income and showing when our deal finders were getting paid out, hey, if you're looking to make extra income, contact us. And all you have to do is drive around. All it's going to take you is a little time and some gas. Now, once we ramped up and, had some checks in the bank, we went from paying them 10% on the back end to paying them per approved deal. So every time per approved lead. So anytime a lead would come in and we would approve it, then we would pay them at the end every 2 weeks, however many approved leads. So if you had 50 approved lead, we would send you, Cash App you, or PayPal you $50 for those approved leads. So that's our structure currently. But in our course, we give them at least, I think it's probably about 4 or 5 different pay structures that you can work with on Deal Finders.
Right. And I think a lot of people, I'm glad you mentioned that you start with friends and family, because I think a lot of people don't realize the power of relationships. So like, you know, like the relationship with your friends and family, that's great. But let's say you decided to build a relationship with a mailman. They know all the vacant properties. They probably saw the people that are getting the notices on the door.
Yeah, perfect.
So it's just like, you need to be strategic. Like, make sure it's something in there for them, but, you know, get people that are already doing this anyway. They already know.
There you go.
And a lot of folks, if you're a new real estate investor or you've been in it for a while, you have people sending you properties all the time. Your auntie may text you, hey, I saw this property. Your cousin, your brother may call you, hey, I just know it's a property you might want to look at. So what we tell people, hey, I appreciate it. That's great. Now going forward, instead of texting me, just go in my app. I have an app. It's called Deal Machine. I'll add you to it. All you got to do is snap a picture, hit send. It'll come to my phone. So when I close the deal, I'll know who to pay out on it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. It'll help me get paid and organized. All right, I'll do it through your app.
And we take no submissions anymore through emails, messenger, text messages. If you don't use the app, we're not even looking at it. Unless it's a referral. So unless somebody comes to us and be like, hey, listen, my aunt is looking to get rid of her house, I suggested you guys. Something like that. But if somebody's just driving and snapping pictures and want to send us 14 texts,
you're like, no. You set the expectation.
It's so easy to use the app.
Yes.
Right. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else that I'm pretty sure it's like 50 million things you could share about driving for dollars, but are there any other tips before we move on that you want to share about driving for dollars?
So one key, so you're driving for dollars, but your point is to contact these homeowners through sending them one of these little postcards. So what you gotta realize is it's called direct mail, right? Driving for dollars, combined with direct mail. Direct mail is a numbers game. So we run into a lot of people like, hey, I tried Deal Machine, I tried driving for dollars. And we're like, okay, well, how'd you do? Well, I sent out like 20 postcards and I didn't get any phone calls. You know what the problem is? You didn't send out a high enough volume to get a call back. So the stats are 1 to 2% of people will call you back when you send them a mailer, a postcard, or a letter. So you got to send out 200, 500, 1,000 postcards in order to get a good amount of phone calls rather than just 1 or 2 calls. So always remember, it's a numbers game. So the more you send out, the more calls you're going to get coming back in, the more chances of getting a qualified lead and an actual deal.
Yeah. Right. We have a course that we dropped, what was it, like a month ago? Yep. Or something. And it's basically teaching people driving for dollars. Driving for dollars is also one of the cheapest forms of marketing that you can really get into. It's a really low cost barrier of entry.
Also call them.
Yep. Because
you don't have to just mail them. You can call them, you can text them. Once you skip trace and get their phone number, of course.
Once you get that list, and our course is built around the Deal Machine platform because that's what took us and like skyrocketed our business was that app. And that's how I was able to scale our marketing, starting off on a smaller budget, just focusing strictly on Deal Machine. Now we have multiple streams of marketing, but we started with cold calling. That didn't work so great for us. So I stopped it. We went into Deal Machine. That worked amazing. And then at that point, we just dumped a ton of our money into that. And we saw the returns.
I mean, we've been getting like a 15 to 20 to 1 return. We spend $1 through Deal Machine, we're getting $15 to $20 back as far as income coming in. It's like an ATM machine. We might as well keep it.
That's definitely worth it. And I think something that also should be mentioned is on Deal Machine, it comes with following up with these people, correct? You can mail them every 21 days.
Yeah, absolutely. So how we have our setup is it really just depends. You can mail them every 21, every 30, every 70. We have people who we're mailing to every 30 days. We have people that we're mailing to every 21 days. And a house that I really, really want in a hot area, I'll mail to every week.
You ain't playing no games.
Absolutely.
Literally, you set repeat mailer and you put how many days you want to elapse between the mail going out. It'll go out automatically. for that number.
Right.
Set it and forget it. Put it in there. We just set it and we forget it until we get that call back.
And we get calls coming in every day. We get leads coming every day from these little postcards.
Yep. Once you get that list, though, that's in Deal Machine, it's your list. So at that point, you can do whatever you want with those properties. And I encourage people all the time, and we teach them in our course how to export the list, skip trace it, cold call them, hit them with a text blast, bringless voicemail, whatever it is, but that list is now yours, and it's still the most valuable list because it's a list that nobody else has.
Right.
Enrichment, right? Richmond, gone and combed these streets and found these distressed properties. You can't just go and buy that list. So it's a very high value list. Right.
Yeah. The best lists are the lists that you formulate yourself, hands down.
Exactly.
You can buy lists all day, and that's all fine and dandy, but you can get a better return on a list you make yourself.
There you go. Because you've physically seen those properties.
Right. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we touched on the follow-up because most of the deals are made in the follow-up. So we have to, it's good that app provides that because a lot of the time people forget to follow up if they don't have any reminder. So you put it in there and you set it and forget it. And you're getting calls months later for things you did a long time ago.
And just to add on to that, Martina, the next step is once you get a lead and you know they have a house they want to sell, you need to have a CRM system. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. So most people are using a piece of paper and they're using spreadsheets and Google Drive and Google Docs. It's organized, right? We've been there. CRM. So we use a CRM. We use InvestorFuse. It's built on top of Podio. But that organizes our follow-up. And as you know, 90% of the deals you close are not going to happen on the first or second conversation. It's going to take call after call, meeting after meeting. So you have to have some type of system or software to organize your follow-ups.
And just to touch on this as well, just some of the things that people don't understand when I say when you're working with a smaller budget, especially starting off and you're new, what helped us also with jumping into the whole investor realm is I was able to market not to just homeowners with Deal Machine. Like we purchased land from using Deal Machine, mobile home parks, storage unit facilities. I specifically put in multifamily, so anything that was for here, 5 units and up. Multifamilies, 12 units in Cleveland that we just purchased came from Deal Machine as well. So I've used it for other things other than just a typical single family house.
And finding cash buyers.
We had a ton of cash buyers that we found through Deal Machine.
How to do that?
And that's from mailing to the LLCs and the corporate owned. So I had a postcard that specifically was tailored to them saying, hey, are you looking to buy more properties or are you looking to get rid of some? And goes into a whole spiel of who we are. We'd love to, speak with you in regards to your property. So it can be used for more things than just that and to scale a smaller business into a larger one.
Right. So you guys have got all the keys, all the tricks for driving for dollars. If people are interested in your course, where do they go to get it?
Yeah, so we'll put the link in the description, but they go to drivingfordollarscourse.com.
Okay.
Dollarscourse.com/free training, and that link will be below, but they can get all the information on it.
Yeah, or just drivingfordollarscourse.com. Yep, and you'll find it there.
Okay, cool. Now, Driving for Dollars course isn't the only thing that you guys are doing. I know you're doing a ton of things, but you have this group called the Copreneur Group where you're trying to encourage couples to work together and build this wealth. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So I told my husband, and people kept asking us over and over again, like, oh, are you guys going to do something for couples? And we was like, yeah, we're definitely, at first we were like super busy. And then I was like, yeah, we really should, give couples a platform to be able to, really build a family legacy. So I told my husband, let's start a group. And I always called us the Copreneurs. So I said, let's start a group. We'll call it the Copreneurs. And it's really just giving people or couples the avenues and the means and the information to creating a family legacy, and not in just real estate. So we tell people we're serial entrepreneurs because we're not just into real estate. 2020 alone, so we're in Q3 right now. Q4 right now, and I'm already planning for 2020. So we're launching 4 more businesses in 2020, and it has nothing.
4?
Yes.
Working like a slave.
She said businesses, not jobs.
Right. And they're not all centered around real estate.
Right.
Just real estate creates that income to be able to really deep dive into other businesses. Right. And so that's what I'm really trying to do. And so even with the Copreneur, I have some amazing stuff lined up for 2020 for couples in that group. And it's just amazing. So if anyone is a couple that is either in business together, thinking about getting into business together, want to know how to get into business together, I definitely encourage you to join that group. Because 2020 is going to be amazing for that group.
Yep. Just go on Facebook and search The Copreneur.
Yes.
Copreneur, couple entrepreneur. Had a baby. It's called Copreneur.
Okay, cool. So what type of books are you guys reading or that you've read to help you get to the level that you're at?
So, of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Traction is another big book that we read. It really helped us crystallize our roles, her being the visionary, being the one who kind of gets the vision and looks at the big picture, and me being the integrator, the person who does the blocking and tackling and the tactics in between to accomplish those goals. So Traction by Gino Wickman was a huge book for us. Another one, negotiation book. The name is escaping me right now, but it's a really good negotiation book by an FBI negotiator.
Oh, Never Split the Difference.
That's it. Never Split the Difference. And that took we probably made an extra $300,000 in the past year just from stuff I learned from that book. I didn't read the book. I listened to the audio, which I didn't read.
Right. Right. You read it.
Right.
Somebody read it to you.
Audible. I love Audible. So I go on my daily walks and I listen to that book, and that's an amazing book on negotiations.
A couple Grant Cardone books as well.
Yeah, of course, Grant Cardone.
So what I will say this for even, individuals, especially couples. So when my husband and I got together, I remember him telling me in one of our first dates, and I think this was him trying to plant that seed in my head when I started to think back on it. He was like, "Hey, you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Yeah, you got to read that book. It's amazing, and it taught me so much about financing and your wants versus your needs." And he was really pushing that to you, like your wants versus your needs.
Because my wife, she could spend money. She just there's a want and there's a need. Not everything is a need.
And he kept pushing it. He was like, "Babe, every time we go to get something, he'd be like, Babe, you got to read this book."
Is that a want? I'm giving you some of your wants. But.
Right.
Is that a want or a need? So he was like, "Listen, I'm requiring you to read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad." And we have 5 on our shelf right now because we'll give it out to people who have not read it. But I just had to throw that in there because it just reminded me of that.
Still remembers it. It worked.
But that was his way of saying, listen, the same way I came to him and I said, "This is what you got to do in order to be with me." He said, "Okay, well, you got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad in order to be with me because I need to make sure you're on the same mindset and wavelength when it comes to these finances in order for us to take it to the next level."
Right, you can't be making all the money and then spending it all.
Right. You got the cash flow game behind you.
Yeah, I do.
He made sure he bought that too.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it's kind of unanimous that people either read Rich Dad Poor Dad or Think and Grow Rich to help change their mindset.
Yep, I've heard that one too.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
A day if he could.
Okay. Well, cool. Okay, is there any tips that you want to share with someone that, they may just be starting off or maybe they're just talking and not doing and they just need, an extra push?
My tip would be because I know a lot of people suffer from analysis paralysis, including my husband. He is supposed to
you out there, huh?
supposed close to child support. I call him a spinner. So I tell people a lot of times when they say, oh, I've just been trying, but I haven't gotten around to it. I say, listen, if you write a list down of everything that you want to get accomplished in your business, I don't care if it starts with find a business name, start paperwork for LLC, business bank account, a business P.O. box or what have you. If you write a list of like 30, 40 things that you know you need to get done, and if you at least touch one thing a day in your business, you are at least moving your business forward.
Right.
That is the biggest thing when it comes to people who suffer from analysis paralysis, because they feel if they don't get something done today or early in the morning or when they think they should have had it done, then okay, forget it. I'll do it tomorrow. Right. Touch one thing a day in your business. That's it. If you do that, so like us, everything we do is off of a list all day. I have an app called Wonderlist. And on that app, it breaks down my family list, work list. I have a list for every business, every employee. So if I need to tell an employee 10 different things, I have a list of it. And as I've done that, I check off the box and it disappears off of my list. That's why I love that app. But it keeps you super organized. It makes sure that you stay on track. And I tell people the best way to get over analysis paralysis is to touch one thing. That's it. If you can complete one thing in your business, you have now at least moved your business forward for that day.
That's good advice. This kind of reminds me of like the compound effect. Small compounded efforts over a long period of time get you to the goal.
Yep. My take on that, again, because it's a personality trait. Some people are very analytical, and we can suffer from analysis paralysis, myself included. So, a few things. One is when you have analysis paralysis, you're really just afraid of making a mistake.
Yep.
Right. You want to look at it 10 ways to Sunday because it's like, what if I mess up? So she has to help me get over it. She's like, if we make a mistake, so what? It's not life and death, right?
Right.
Make a mistake in a real estate transaction, we can recover from it, right? So that was one of the things is don't be afraid of making mistakes. Just, know that you can recover from it and fail forward fast. The more you fail, learn from that mistake, don't make it again, and do it better the next time. The other thing I would say is invest in your education. So with me, she would say cheap. I would say I'm frugal.
No. Economically efficient.
I don't like spending money, even though she'll say certain things I'll spend money on. So and you. So
you went crazy.
So what we did was, in the beginning, we spent a lot of money on our education.
Yes.
Before we spent a dime, we spent $16,000 joining the mastermind group. We spent another $5-10 grand on a coach, mentor. We probably spent $30,000-$40,000 before we had closed our first deal. Way more than that. So my mindset was like, damn, we just spent all this money. This working is not an option.
Right.
So that literally forced me out of the analysis paralysis. I was like, I don't care if I fail. I got to at least get this 50 grand back because we done spent education and courses and programs. So that literally pulled me out of that in addition to my wife. So that's another thing I would do. If you're looking to go fast, put a lot of money out there because the more you put out there and investing in your business, the more you're going to have to make back. So you got to move.
And knowing what to invest in. My thing with him was, I said, listen, we have to make these moves because I'm all about shortening my learning curve. So if I can pay you to teach me how to do this and not have to figure it out or try to go to YouTube University and go through 50 videos, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you your 10,000. And now I want to know everything that you know in regards to this one area. So now it's taken us from learning something over the course of 4, 5, 6 months to a week. Possibly.
Right.
And that's how when people be like, oh man, y'all, it just happened overnight. No, we literally was learning before we ever did a deal. So by the time we did our first deal, it was rinse and repeat because we had already had our systems. Like we had Podio, one of the most expensive CRM system, and they have one deal. at all. And most people's like, they're on Excel spreadsheets, but the guy that we paid to teach us marketing, like, hey, listen, this is the system that you need. Yeah. This is the we had a whole system for pulling leads.
Yep, for $1,200.
$1,200 a year on that.
$5,000 to the consultant, another $2,500 for Podio. We hadn't even closed a deal.
Closed one deal.
You was like, I gotta get a deal because I gotta get my money back at least.
$1 billion systems all around us that we would be paying for.
People thought it happened. It didn't happen overnight. It took us over half to close our first deal. But once we closed our first deal, the flywheel was already running, so it just kept going and kept going.
Right, because you had built that system to keep it going. It was rinse and repeat, like you said.
And I tell people all the time, the fastest way to becoming or going where you want to be when it comes to your hustle is to hustle like you are poor. At all times. Hustle like you are poor at all times, no matter what you got in your bank account, and that's going to keep you on your grind.
Yeah, I think that is a good point that you bring up, because I just think of people that have gotten into like some bad deals because they had money. They thought it was a good deal. But if you were broke, you would have to figure out how to make the deal work.
Absolutely.
So it would put you in a better position. So if you're hustling like you're poor, then you're like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to make this work without, blowing this amount of money. So I think that's really good advice.
Your clarity and be a lot more aware. Because my husband, he analyzed the hell out of a deal. Every deal, it don't matter what it is, he's going to analyze it, make sure the numbers work. Because in his mind, we are still broke. We still need one of our checks. That's what keeps us moving forward.
Right. Or you could be like Christina, hustle like an immigrant, right?
Hustle like an immigrant.
I love it.
I love my girl.
We get to $1 billion. Hey, we still broke.
We still broke.
Right, that's right. Well, I really appreciate you guys being on the podcast today. You gave some great valuable information, some really good gems. I hope people take this information and use it to move forward in their businesses. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before we close this out?
Well, you can find us on anything Be Polite properties or Be Polite. So Instagram, Facebook,
YouTube,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Guys, follow us on YouTube. We drop a ton of content on there. So find us on anything Be Polite. Our couples group is called the Copreneur. Anything else?
Again, our course, drivingfordollars.com. We're going to have some of our team members offering strategy sessions coming up here soon. So look for a link to that where you can have one of our team members analyze your real estate marketing strategy and give you tips on taking your business to the next level.
Okay, that's awesome. No problem. Thanks for being on. But until next time, Do It Movement listeners. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, guys, for checking out the Do It Movement podcast this week. I hope we inspired you to make some power moves now. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us for more info on our guests and new episodes at Do It Movement Pod on Instagram and at doitmovementpod.com. Make sure as you apply some of this knowledge, you tag us along the way by adding #DoItMovement so that we can recognize the change makers. See you next week.